Alright, so what I'm going to do is my original intention was to make a video where I was going to, give my fight predictions for UFC 256, Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. That did not pan out because I fell asleep. I was very tired, I worked all day, and these things happen sometimes. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to be posting along with this. I'm also playing other games along with what you guys have already seen me play. But what I'm going to do is I recently got NBA 2k21, and I'm going to be doing I'm a couple games in already to my whatever you want to call it, MyPlayer, MyCareer, whatever you want to call it. So I'm a couple games in to that already. I'm a projected mid-second round pick. I am a shot-creating sharpshooter. Emphasis on the sharpshooter. I will shot create when I have to, but I typically am a catch-and-shoot kind of guy, 3-and-D. So again, you'll see me playing that, along with the fact that I am going to go over, even though I could not make my fight predictions before the fights happened because I fell asleep, I will be completely honest with you guys in how I predicted them going, where I was right, where I was wrong, where I was just completely shocked as to how the fights panned out. And then as soon as we start this, because I'm not paying attention, I immediately get a turnover. And I have like 2 turnovers, I think, in 3 games with my player, so they're not common for me. So the first thing we're going to do is, and that's an assist. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to go just do the main event. Those are the only ones I really actually had predictions for in mind. And if I went over the prelims or any other fights that I didn't analyze beforehand, then I would not be giving you guys an accurate, description of how I felt before they went on. So the first fight was Junior Dos Santos versus, I will not even try to pronounce his name. Actually, I will, just so you can know who it is. It's Cyril Gain, I would say, is how you pronounce it. So I am obviously very familiar with Junior Dos Santos. He's been around for a long time. Heavyweight Brazilian, very much known for, he was the champion for a little bit. He lost the title to Cain Velasquez and then also won the title back from Cain Velasquez in a great fight that shocked a lot of people because Cain Velasquez was known for having like unstoppable cardio, and Cain Velasquez, for the sake of the story, is Mexican, and it was in Mexico City. And Mexico City, as we all know, is I assume we all know, is very high elevation. And the higher the elevation, the thinner the air, and the harder it is to breathe, essentially. So Junior Dos Santos became well known before that, but that was his main fight because he actually tired out Cain Velasquez, which was, we pretty much found out that it was because Junior Dos Santos' plan for how long he would be in Mexico City before the fight to acclimate to the elevation was way better than Cain's, and it led to Cain gassing, which was not like him at all at that point. So Junior Dos Santos, he's an former champion, a UFC great, but he's older now. So I, before this fight, not even knowing who Cyril Gain is, knew if he was good enough to be in there with Cain Velasquez or with Junior Dos Santos, that he was a good fighter and that he was a game opponent. And I also know that Junior Dos Santos has been knocked out, I want to say either his last 3 before this or his last 4 before this. He's just not the same guy. His chin is gone, and I had Cyril Gain winning this fight by knockout. I didn't know when it would happen. I didn't make a prediction on round for that one, but I did have him winning by knockout. Because in my opinion, even if he was mainly a jiu-jitsu practitioner or a wrestler by trade, I still knew Junior would stand with him, and I knew Junior would get caught, and he did. Junior Dos Santos lost by round 2 knockout, so that was not a shock to me, and I got that one right. But again, it's one of the sadder things, especially now with a lot of heavyweights being cut. he's probably going to be on the chopping block. He's probably going to be gone from the UFC. And in my opinion, it's about time for him to retire, which is kind of sad. So the next fight after that was the main fight on this card that I was excited for. So anybody who knows me knows that I grew up loving a lot of fighters as they came and went. When it comes to people who are still fighting currently, three. Growing up, the fighters who were in my favorites who are still fighting. We're not going to count Vanderlei because Vanderlei's not really fighting anymore, but Vanderlei was one of my favorite fighters growing up. He's gotten older. I still love him as he gets older, but we're not going to count him. The only other guys who are currently fighting, who were in my top list, that's another turnover, growing up, were the Diaz brothers. Nick is not currently fighting. Nick has not fought for a long time, but Nick's talking about a comeback. God only knows what division, but we'll keep the Diaz brothers in there. Nate was one of my favorite fighters growing up. I always loved Nate Diaz, and when he beat Conor McGregor, needless to say, I was very excited. And those who know me know I had him winning that fight. I knew he'd be trouble for fucking Conor, and he sure was. And all props to Conor, by the way. Conor did not fight a bad fight. Nate is not the opponent for him. Conor hits hard, Nate's too big, and Nate's jiu-jitsu is, especially off the back, is so filthy. He's very high level. Point of that conversation is Khabib Nurmagomedov has been my favorite fighter for years now. I love the guy, again, along with the Nates and Nicks and the people who I love. But Khabib definitely took over just because of his demeanor, how he handles life, his family, his religion. I just love the fact that you can be a real hard fighter, and there's multiple ways you can do it. You can be the Nick Diaz type, the Vanderlei type, who will just go in there and brawl, don't give a shit what anybody thinks about you. You could be that kind, or you can be the kind like Khabib, who is just, he does it for his family, his honor. He's turned down millions of dollars. He's a pure guy, and I've always loved that about him. And I've been watching MMA since, my brother's probably the only one who can fact check me on this because I was watching it with him. 2001, 2002, real early. We've been watching it since we could. I don't know if my brother's kept up with it as much as I have, but it has been after basketball, because basketball was my favorite sport growing up, and then it turned into MMA, and it has been that way ever since. It is the only sport that I watch religiously. I never stop caring about it, the storylines, the business, anything about that, I love it. Point being, Khabib Nurmagomedov is, I believe, retired. Dana White is saying he thinks he might come out, but he said he promised to his mom that he would not fight again, and I take him at his word. He has a lot of responsibilities. A lot of people don't know in that culture, and his, not just for his religion, but regionally where he lives, the youngest kid stays home with their family forever. There's no, you live with your parents. That is your goal in life. And he has. Throughout all the fame he's gotten, all the money he's gotten, he has not left his home. He still takes care of his family. And his father, Abdul Nurmagomedov, passed recently, and that was a really big deal. All of us who were big fans of his did not know how that would translate to him fighting, because that was his trainer, that was probably his best friend, just the guy who shaped him. He won. He beat Justin Gaethje handily. But his father always wanted him to go 30-0. He retired at 29-0. So his retirement came as kind of a surprise to those of us who, have followed him and were kind of expecting what he was going to do. We did not know that was going to happen. So Khabib, in my opinion, is retired, which means that I have to have a new list of fighters who are going to gain my attention. Because, again, even Nate does not fight that often. Nick has not fought in years. Nate doesn't fight at all, really. So it's kind of difficult for him to be my favorite fighter if I can't follow him. So I have to have an active fighter who I love, who I can get behind, who I can watch his interviews, who I care about. So I hope Khabib comes back. As selfish as that is, I love watching him fight. I love watching him smash people. I love his fighting style. I love the fact that he's fucking relentless with his takedowns. He's relentless with his ground and pound. With the Dagestani handcuff, with him triangling knees. I just up against the cage. I think his fighting style is just beautiful, and it's something that no one's been able to figure out or imitate, and that's a very impressive thing. But if he's no longer fighting, then I have to find different sources of entertainment, different people who I can get behind. Now, again, put the Diaz brothers to the side. The two people who have really jumped in those two spots, who I've loved since the second I saw them fight, loved their attitude, just loved everything about them, the way they fight and who they are as people. The other ones who jumped in my radar were Khamzat Chimaev, obviously, because he's not Khabib. He's not even close. They're very different people. Everything about them is really different, other than their heavy wrestling style. Even though, again, Khabib's never really been a competitive wrestler. He was a Sambo competitor, which I won't get into all that. But they do seem to check a lot of the same boxes in regards to how they fight. Just watching him dominate people on the ground, and then his last fight against Gerald Meerschaert, where he just one punch, bam. He's now in my top fighters. And the other one is Kevin Holland. I love Kevin Holland. I would, even at this point, I think, put Kevin Holland above Khamzat. It was Khamzat to begin with. Sorry, I called him Khamzat. It's Khamzat. Khamzat was the guy that caught my eye the most because of his kind of similarities to Khabib. But Kevin Holland, I think, has jumped in my, tied for favorite fighters. And I posted about this not too long ago. I've watched him fight over the last year, where I was dealing with a lot of things in my own life, where we were all dealing with COVID, other things. I've watched a lot of fight cards, and I just never stopped seeing this dude. And from the second I saw him fight, I loved his demeanor. I loved that he's about the money, and he's not lying about it. But he's a fighter, man. This guy. I've seen him. He knocked out Joaquin Buckley, Joaquin Buckley is that guy who's now known for that crazy spinning kick that he landed when the guy caught his kick. Kevin Holland knocked him out before that. So Kevin Holland is... let me tell you the matchup. So Kevin Holland fought Jacare Souza, who is a legend in UFC. He's an even bigger legend in competitive grappling and jiu-jitsu. He's literally like, he's as good as you can get in competitive jiu-jitsu. I believe he was a silver medalist in Worlds, and he only lost to Damian Maia, which is not an indictment on Jacare. Like, Damian Maia, anybody who watches UFC knows Damian Maia only has been able to get in the UFC and do what he does without a really solid striking game, only because how great his fucking jiu-jitsu is. He's, again, elite to the highest degree. But Jacare is kind of the same thing as Junior Dos Santos. He's lost a lot of his fights recently. He's getting older. I want to say he's either in his early 40s or his late 30s. I want to say he's probably 43, 42. And if I am wrong, I apologize, Jacare. I really do. But so going into this fight, I had Kevin Holland winning. Kevin Holland's last fight, he did a fair bit of wrestling. I don't remember what the guy's name was. It was some guy with a lot of fancy kicks and footwork. But Kevin Holland is not the easiest guy to take down. And his striking is... I don't know what his background is exactly, but Kevin Holland knows how to strike. Just look up any of his highlights. The guy is so good, and he's confident, and he's honest, and he talks a lot of shit, which I love, if you're doing it the right way. If it seems genuine to me, I love it. And Kevin Holland's a genuine guy, and he does it for the money, and he does it because he likes to fight, and he's a straight killer. I thought it was going to be a round 2 knockout. I thought Jacare would try to take him down, wouldn't be able to get him down, and if he did get him down, wouldn't be able to hold him. And I thought that would kind of tire Jacare out and kind of, dampen his spirits, thinking I'm not going to be able to, use my ground game the way I want. And then I thought he'd come out round 2 tired and Kevin Holland would catch him. That is not at all what happened. Kevin Holland did win, but Kevin Holland won off his back. Kevin Holland hit him with some good shots, some hammer fists. He caught him and he turned off Jacare's lights, and then got up. He said he saw his eyes roll, and he got up and hammered him down and dropped him, and finished him off. So again, I had a round 2 knockout for Kevin Holland. It was a round 1 knockout. Close, but I was a little bit wrong, but I was also still kind of right. However, not having watched the whole fight, from what I did hear, was that Jacare was taking him down pretty easily, which would be kind of counterintuitive to what I've seen from Kevin Holland, is that he is difficult to take down. But again, being taken down by a legendary grappler is not something to really worry about until you get into the upper echelons of the division. Except for the fact that the champion in middleweight is Israel Adesanya, and he ain't gonna have to worry about grappling with Adesanya, but he is gonna have to worry about fucking striking with him, and that is a big worry for anybody who thinks that they're gonna fight Izzy, because that young man's kickboxing is absolutely ridiculous. I won't get into Izzy, but you guys know, if you watch fighting, UFC, any MMA, you know who Izzy is and what he comes with. But yeah, I was real happy to see Kevin Holland get that victory, 5-0. Just this year, he's my vote for Fighter of the Year, especially after beating Jacare the way he did. The only other fighter who I can see as a possibility for Fighter of the Year is Davison Figueiredo. But even then, he hasn't fought 5 times. He is the champion. But with how handily Kevin Holland handled Jacare, I think that submits him as Fighter of the Year. So the next fight was Mackenzie Dern. Again, I'm not going to try to pronounce her name. I apologize. Genderoba is what it says. I know that's wrong, and again, I apologize. Round 3 decision for Mackenzie Dern. So Mackenzie Dern came into MMA. She is a fantastic, very well-decorated jiu-jitsu practitioner. She's so good in jiu-jitsu, I can't even start to list. I'd have to Google it. I honestly have to Google it to list all of her accomplishments, all of her success in jiu-jitsu. It would take forever. She is again top tier, cream of the crop jiu-jitsu practitioner. So she's had her, I would say, ups and downs. There were questions about her striking, how tough she was, could she handle it? But again, there has never been a question, even in MMA. She's already cemented the fact that she can use her jiu-jitsu in MMA. You do not want to go to the ground with Mackenzie Dern. I believe I had Mackenzie Dern not winning this fight. I had it going to decision for the other lady that she was fighting. I don't remember why in particular. If anybody's wondering, I can update you on that. But I did have Dern losing. I wasn't sure if she could deal with pressure on the feet, if she could deal with constant pressure, and I thought that this other woman had demonstrated that she will come with pressure, and I thought that pressure would lead to forced takedowns, forced shots, her getting tired. Again, not getting knocked out, not getting submitted because of who she is, but I just thought she would tire, and that did not happen. Mackenzie Dern looked good. Mackenzie Dern, she took some shots, but she was in there, and I'm a much bigger fan of Mackenzie Dern now than I was before, because she's tough. I always knew she was tough, but I didn't know if she could like kind of like a lot of Ronda's a good example of fighters who can implement. They can force their will, and that becomes their only avenue to victory. And then when somebody pushes them, they don't know what to do. Like Ronda had been dominating everybody, but when she could not dominate Holly Holm, when she could not even land a fucking punch, sorry, I'm trying to drive on the lane here. Against Amanda Nunes smashed her. But again, those of us who were actual fight fans kind of saw that one coming. They kind of lose it. They don't have a secondary option. They don't like adversity. They can't handle adversity. And the fact that they are not well-rounded fighters and don't have the mental capacity to deal with that adversity comes out. I thought that would be Mackenzie Dern. That's not her. And I have a lot more respect for her. And I am a way bigger fan of her now than I was. And I think that she will continue to get better, and she will continue to win, honestly. So the next fight after Mackenzie Dern was Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira. So this was the people's main event for a lot of people. By the way, I put up 25, 5 and 5, A- rating in 2K, and we still lost by 7 points. I wasn't paying attention enough to really know what was going on. Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira. I believe I had. I want to say Tony Ferguson. I don't want to pretend like I had Oliveira if I really didn't. So I know that if I did have that, especially with him being the underdog, I would remember. I think I wanted to say I had Tony Ferguson. I thought Tony would come back. Tony would be motivated. Tony would have had some kind of rest, and that Tony would just pressure Oliveira. And Oliveira, who is a legend, who has so many records and submission-wise, he's an elite grappler. I thought that Tony would just overwhelm him. I've seen Oliveira get hit, and he kind of seems to scramble. He doesn't really know when he's taking pressure, when he's getting hit. He doesn't seem to react as well as he should in past fights. Like Paul Felder, just having somebody on you, hitting you, and he just didn't seem to be able to take that. I thought that Tony would just overwhelm him because Tony's known as a pressure fighter, coming at you with everything. I thought Tony would overwhelm him. Tony did not. Oliveira, if you haven't seen it, look up their first round where there was an armbar and Oliveira was cranking his arm and then turned, pulled down on his elbow. He would have popped something. He would have ruined something. But the round ended, and Tony made it out. Tony's a tough son of a bitch. And Tony got out of the first, but Tony did lose the decision. Tony got beat. That was just that. And now all the debates are coming on whether or not Tony is still Tony. I have no idea. But we'll see where that goes. And then the last one. Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. I'm not going to say much about this because I don't know much about either of these guys. I don't think really anybody does. They have not been around forever. They have not fought that many times in the grand scheme of watching somebody fight and learning about them, especially Brandon Moreno. I kind of had the same idea with Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno that I did about the which fight? The Mackenzie Dern fight. But vice versa. I thought that Figueiredo would just overwhelm Moreno. And again, I'm not going to stay long on this because this is not a very educated guess. This is just from the little I've seen of both of them. Figueiredo comes out hot. He swings for the fucking fences, and he's got a good ground game. His jiu-jitsu's filthy. So I honestly thought Figueiredo would come out, overwhelm Moreno, and and by the way, I had Tony Ferguson winning by decision. He did not. I thought Davison Figueiredo would overwhelm Moreno, would hit him hard, would rock him, and then I thought just based off of instinct that either he would drop Moreno or Moreno would kind of shoot a desperation takedown, And then I had Figueiredo by submission round 2. I thought Figueiredo would beat him up in the first. Second, Moreno would kind of just not know where he was, not being able to deal with the moment. And then I thought that Davison would kind of pile it on round 2. And then since Davison would start getting tired, I mean, everybody does, especially after even only 7.5, 8 minutes of fighting. I thought Davis and Figueiredo would see an easy way out of hitting him, dropping him, desperation takedown, or getting on top, and putting him in some kind of submission. What? I don't know. Guillotine, Kimura. Again, I haven't seen him on the ground enough to know really what he's capable of, but I have seen him submit people. So I thought Figueiredo would overwhelm him in round 1 and finish it off in round 2. I was wrong. Brandon Moreno is a tough son of a bitch from what I saw. People are saying it's a Fight of the Year candidate. I 100% agree it's a candidate. I wouldn't give it Fight of the Year. But Davison Figueiredo hits hard, and he was putting it on Moreno, and Moreno was there the whole time. There was some controversy in regards to a point taken. I don't find it controversial at all. Figueiredo got a point taken because he had 3 different fouls. I'm not sure what they all were in order, but there were eye pokes, nut shots, other things going on. But after 3, the ref said, I'm taking a point, which in my opinion you should. You can't keep fouling somebody. I don't care if it's the same foul. You cannot foul somebody multiple times and not lose some kind of advantage that you're gaining potentially from them. And then there were some criticisms also due to the scorecards. Somebody had, I guess one of the judges had Brandon Moreno winning the 5th round, which it did not appear that way, and had that person had just given the 5th round, from what they said, properly to Davison Figueiredo. I have to go back and rewatch the 5th round just to figure it out. That had they given it to him rightfully so, he would have won even with the point taken. But that's all debate. It's all whatever you want to say it is. You can have your opinion on it. But it was a draw. It was a majority draw. It was the majority of judges found that Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno had the same amount of points throughout 5 rounds. So it was a draw, and it will be an immediate rematch, I guarantee you. There was not many great flyweights, and the fact that we just saw a fucking brawl put on by these 2 guys is... and they're both young. And I believe Brandon Moreno is Mexican, which only is a big deal. I'm not just saying he's Mexican, so I could say he's Mexican. Yeah, Moreno's Mexican. They're trying to open, they were recently trying and are still trying to open a performance center in Mexico, which the UFC likes to do because it can bring in new talent from different countries. And if you have a star fighter from a region, it helps to market and promote and get in new fighters, and also sell tickets for people who want to see that fighter fight. And Brazil is obviously big in MMA, big into all combat sports. So since they're both young and they both are from markets that are either being broken into or have already been broken into that sell a lot, it is a very clear instant rematch for those 2. Also because they both actually fought on the same card a couple weeks ago. So they're both it's short notice, but they've also been in training camp and they just have to continue, staying in shape. But so they're both equally as well rested. They both had quick fights in their last fights. So it's a good... you can't say anyone had the advantage. And the fact they got a draw, it has to be an instant rematch. So that's the Davison Figueiredo Brandon Moreno. That was the main event. And then let me see what the next fight card is, because I will do my best. Again, right now, knowing what fights are going to be going on next year is kind of hard, especially because they haven't booked any title fights. So the main event can change for any of these cards. Anything could change. But from how it looks now, the last fight card of the year, because this was the last pay-per-view, the last fight card of the year is going to be Stephen Thompson versus Jeff Neal. That's going to be in 7 days. I will do my best to make, if I don't fall asleep again, to make a prediction video for that tell you guys what I think so that you guys can comment and we can possibly discuss. But the... Oh, that's a good fight card. The main event's going to be Stephen Thompson, Jeff Neal. Co-main is going to be Jose Aldo versus Chito Vera. That's a good fight. Chaos Williams versus Michael Lima's in the third. Chaos Williams been on fire, and his name is dope. Marlon Moraes, Rob Font. Marlon Moraes almost beat Henry Cejudo, so he's obviously a top contender and is very good. Not sure about Rob Font. I'll look into him so I know more about him. Greg Hardy versus Marcin Tybura. That's a good fight. Greg Hardy, as much as people hate him, he was a favorite football player of mine, and I love him as a fighter. That guy's cold-blooded. Marcin Tybura is a game opponent. And the final fight on that fight card that's already been announced, because they're going to add more, is Anthony Pettis versus Alex Morono. That's an I don't know. Anthony Pettis is on or off some days, so nobody knows what the hell that's going to look like. But thank you so much. Again, I apologize that I was not able to get this up last night, but hopefully you could see that I'm honest about where I'm right, where I'm wrong, what I thought was going to happen. And I will, again, do my best to get it up before the fights on the next card and every card before. And if you guys have any questions, if you want to have any discussions about this with me, feel free to comment. We can talk about it. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching it. I'll also continue going with 2K on MyCareer. My draft stock just got bumped up to early second round, even though we lost, but I went 25-5-5. So what can you do about that? So thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.